So Pyrocynical finally made a video kind of responding to all of the allegations and everything made against him over the last God knows how long now at this point. To kind of give you guys like a quick refresher, because I really just want to get in and cover the entire situation as quickly as possible, because I was actually in the video that he responded to, and I want to talk about the entire situation and address some things and just talk about it. Basically what happened was Pyrocynical has been accused of having sexual conversations with a minor by the name of Ivory. Now, these were some weird conversations, of course. I mean, obviously we can all agree on that regardless, just based on the, I guess, the nature of what they were talking about, even though there was the age difference or whatever. And there was kind of like this big situation that blew up where there was a debate on whether or not he knew the age of Ivory before having this conversation. And some other minor situations have kind of been drawn as parallels into this entire thing that have all been kind of combined together to be used as a point against Pyrocynical to claim that he tried to groom this 15-year-old, attempted to have a sexual relationship with a minor, all kinds of other things, and it was a horrible look for Pyrocynical when it came out, obviously. I mean, when the allegations came out, they were quite damning. Screenshots of chats came out, all kinds of different things, and the community obviously has taken notice. I mean, even myself, I made a video, a lot of other commentators made videos talking about the whole subject. Pyrocynical first responded with a Reddit post. On his subreddit, Turkey Tom also had made like a big Google Doc kind of, wrapping up a bunch of stuff with the situation for, I guess, a lack of better words. Pyrocynical in his response has claimed that this document was more or less kind of biased against him, was used and maybe written with maybe malicious intent. And so I want to kind of talk about his response. Now, I was in there for like 5 seconds, right? Because I made a video talking about this whole thing, like when it kind of blew back up, because it's been a weird situation where it's like kind of been up and down. Like, I guess these allegations were kind of old by the time I had even known about them. I didn't know about them for a long time. Turkey Tom released his Google Doc, and I guess that kind of rekindled a lot of it along with Pyrocynical's response on his subreddit and whatnot. All these different situations started to kind of rekindle it and whatnot. And that's where I kind of picked up on it, right? I didn't know about this from the beginning or anything, and that's, of course, when I and many other commentators made videos on it. So to address Pyrocynical's response, I have to say, as somebody who's seen countless YouTube apologies/response videos, all these different types of content that have come out over the years from countless different types of creators, this was one of the better, more reasoned responses that I've ever seen. Pyrocynical, for about 23 minutes, addresses pretty much every point that he can head on. He doesn't waste any time addressing what needs to be addressed. He provides evidence for what happened, including screenshots. His story actually makes sense, which is a good thing, obviously, because, I mean, at the worst case scenario, right, it would have been like Pyrocynical would have been this horrible person, right? But he actually made quite a reasoned response, which, like I said, on YouTube, that's quite rare, man. I mean, we've seen some of these videos, people get on here and start crying. They always say, oh, I didn't want to make this video, but I have to defend myself. And no, he didn't do that. He actually owned up to what he did as well. He admitted his fault, which I also thought was really good because, as I'm going to explain here in a little bit, he's still in the wrong, even though he's cleared up a little bit of the situation and he's addressed a lot of what's happened. But, I'm more inclined to believe that he's not like this horrible human being like, initially kind of figured to be. And a big point I've seen used against Pyrocynical, and something he actually also directly addressed in his video, is the fact that he was kind of afraid to have his, I guess, sexual fantasies kind of aired out on the internet, because, I mean, to keep it a $150, he's into some weird stuff, you know what I'm saying? These weird fantasies, these odd conversations that he admitted to having with a minor. But when it comes down to it, I don't know if I'm the only one here who doesn't really care. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't care what Pyrocynical jacks off to. Like, it's none of my fucking business. I feel like that really doesn't even really equate into the issue whatsoever. Like, I understand why he was afraid for that to come out, you know what I'm saying? Because, people on the internet, they're very judgmental and things like that. But I can't say that I'm not judgmental because obviously I judged this situation very harshly from the jump. But this just isn't something that I really judge him on, you know what I'm saying? Like, people are into weird stuff, whatever, you know what I'm saying? He owned up to the fact that he had a conversation like that with a minor. He then goes on to say basically that these are things that he only really fantasizes about. It doesn't carry over to anything in reality. And as far as like the whole grooming point, he doesn't consider it grooming and he doesn't think it should really be considered grooming because he never planned to make any advances with Ivory. So I'm gonna leave that one up for you guys to decide. Personally, I believe what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? I really don't think, and mostly because of his explanation and the evidence that he's provided in this video, that he really had like these horrible, like twisted intentions. Now, at first, when you're seeing all this, it's like, oh, this is disgusting, and that's kind of how it looked. And it's probably my fault for maybe not looking a little deeper into the situation, or maybe knowing some of this context, because I feel like some of this was maybe a little bit more publicly available than I'd like to say it was. But then he also addresses some points that like are just fucking psychotic, you know what I'm saying, that like I didn't even know about, okay? So there was this clip that came out from Tommy C, who I actually like. And there's this video of Tommy C where he quite literally makes the claim that Pyrocynical was going to be flying this 16-year-old out to basically try and have a relationship, if you understand the gist of what I'm saying when I say that. So that's obviously quite the fucking claim to make, and when I first saw that clip today, I was kind of stunned because I've never seen that clip before. Apparently this was like completely false too. This is like a complete false allegation made, and as it turns out, the whole point of this 16-year-old being flown out was to go to a public event together, which was actually verified by PewDiePie's editor, so there's like basically a testimony to that claim. It's not like this is just being made, oh, this is what I say I'm doing, Somebody else actually verifies this claim, and as it turns out, apparently the flight never even occurred in the first place, so as this situation has kind of unfolded, it's been kind of weird to see because, it's been almost like this back and forward, right? Where there's been a lot of claims obviously made against Pyrocynical, and now he's kind of addressed these, I think, in a better, more direct way. In my opinion, this is a much better response than that Reddit post was. It even seems more genuine, in my personal opinion, and I think that plays like a pretty big part into it, so I don't think it's controversial to say that Pyrocynical was in the wrong. As a matter of fact, it's something that he will openly admit. He was in the wrong for having these conversations with Ivory in the first place, but as he makes it, it wasn't what it was made out to be. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't as if like he was, basically being a Discord predator or like doing some weird stuff to where like he was literally trying to, entrap a minor or like he knew of the age. He showed evidence such as like conflicting dates on messages and things like that in his video, and if you haven't seen the video, like I'm gonna link it below. You probably should have already watched it before you saw this video, but I heavily encourage you to watch that video because it is honestly a very good response. So like, I don't think it's controversial to say that Pyrocynical was in the wrong for having these conversations, not because it was some weird stuff like that he was talking about, because it was some like out-of-pocket type of sexual fantasy, but obviously because it was with a minor, and he even openly says in his video that it was his responsibility to verify age. He failed to properly do that in the first place, and that's what kind of led to this whole situation happening. And with that, do I believe that Pyrocynical at this point is like some, psychotic Discord predator, like how it was looking from the jump? No, I really don't. I feel like if he really was like this horrible individual who was doing some very psychotic, twisted things, he would not have made such a reasoned reply. You know what I'm saying? If he really was doing like some horrible shit, I feel like he would have been much more like defensive and irrational. You know what I'm saying? Because at least from like my personal experience, when people are guilty of doing something, right, they become like very paranoid almost when you call them out for doing something, and they don't really use logic anymore. And plus, he provided a lot of good counter evidence, the dates are matching up what he says from, like his Twitter suspension and things like that. He addressed the points head on. He didn't dodge anything that people were saying. He didn't play the woe is me victim card. He just took what was said at face value. Then he addressed it with good evidence. And I think that was the best way that he could have responded. And as someone who looks up to Pyrocynical, because, he's one of my commentary idols, he's one of the reasons that I've made this kind of content, I was extremely disappointed to see these allegations, and I was, like, mortified in a way that I had supported somebody who had possibly done something like this, but I really don't think he's as terrible as was made out, and I do feel bad for maybe kind of jumping, I guess, on the bandwagon and kind of, I guess, maybe not reading deep enough into the situation before I spoke on it, because, at the time, in my defense, I felt like I knew the full context because of the Turkey Tom document, because of other videos that I had watched on the subject, because I had read the response that he had made. But as I've watched this Pyrocynical response, and as I've seen like clips like Tommy C's, I've become aware that I missed some pretty key context before I said anything, and especially in a situation like that, that's not a good thing, right? So I think in future situations, I'm going to focus more on, focusing on, I guess, trying to get the full context before I guess, pick a side, maybe. I'd like to think that my stance is still quite similar to what I originally had because, I mean, I still think that he was in the wrong, but I do think he looks a lot better than he did. But at the same time, I do also realize that this is still probably a fluid situation. I feel like Turkey Tom is probably going to respond to this. At the end of Pyrocynical's video, he said he just wants to move on from this and kind of get past it and everything, so I'm not sure if he's going to respond, but I feel like Turkey Tom, especially with all the pressure now put on him, basically from this video alone and the reaction that it's getting, I feel like he's probably going to respond. I think depending on how his reaction goes, like any point that he makes, I may make a follow-up video and kind of dissect that and talk about that. But with that being said, I just kind of wanted to talk about this whole situation because I feel like it's important to kind of give, I guess, an update to it. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. If you did enjoy, ow, I just hit my hand. If you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're brand new around here on the channel. Follow me over on Twitter and Twitch at @SubToOptimus. Make sure to check out Shop Opti down below. Thank you to my channel members. Your support helps my channel tremendously. And until my next video, guys, this is Optimus Well, responding to Pyrocynical, and signing out.